Battlefield. So I've been thinking making this video for more than a year, and I thought there's really no point. But you know what? I think it's time. I think it's actually time to talk about this game. This amazing, beautiful, delightful AAA experience game. So join me on this journey. I just want to get this game out of my head, you know, get all these opinions and thoughts about this game out of my head so I can forget about it, that this game actually exists. Because I'm actually tired, I can move on to other games that deserve my time and money, and let's hope that DICE actually learned their lessons from mistakes that were made in this game. You have no idea how painful it hurts to say that line because it's such a big fucking lie. I'm in so much pain, please help. Wait, before we continue. It's magic. It's magic. I'm a big Battlefield franchise fanboy, as you can tell. There's literally some sort of Stockholm syndrome happening to us and to me and everyone else that coming back to this game, or this franchise in general. No matter how many bad decisions they make, no matter how many times they reinvent the wheel, every time with the new game launch, no matter how many different design ideas they implement that actually do not work in the Battlefield game, whatever the reason may be, we're still coming back, and we still love this franchise, somehow. So it is a Stockholm syndrome, I guess. But then again, are we talking about Call of Duty now? Because that sounds like Call of Duty to me. So no surprise to everyone, I'm gonna be negative to Battlefield 2042, because... what else I have to do with my life? Like, my sole purpose in existing on this fucking planet is to shit on this game. It's really sad. Why did I get a green screen? Seriously, why did I get a green screen to make this stupid ass videos that have no fucking No.
Are you fucking dumb? You quit and the game starts.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It says waiting for players to join. You quit and it starts.
Before you all start losing shit with me, let me address some obvious stuff. You know, so classes are back, which is nice. The game has been updated with good quality of life improvements that make the game more enjoyable. Furthermore, regarding the future, the next Battlefield game will have a single player, so they heard all the feedback they had from this game, so they are addressing it. They actually created a new studio just to make a new Battlefield single player, and that studio's name is Ridgeline Studios, and the guy that is handling the studio has experience in Halo, like writing good stories, and he's actually asking feedback about the Battlefield franchise. Great! On top of that, David Sterling, who was one of the main people responsible for Battlefield 4 CTE, came back to the studio after many years of, you know, doing other stuff. So, regardless what you think, it's a good sign, but at the same time, if you're a football fan like me, and there's a saying, never go back to your former lover because the second breakup is going to be more painful, if Jose Mourinho coming back to Chelsea is any indicator how this will turn out, we might have a good year, the first year, but the second year is gonna be fucking sour. So things might go bad really quickly if not done properly. So, but anyway, we hope for the best. We hope for the best. I got tired, so I got this rocking chair just to sit and record a video. The real reason is because I fucked up the audio, so this is the second time I'm recording this, and I decided, you know what, let me bring a rocking chair, because why not? So I'm gonna be like an old grandpa, literally telling you how great Battlefield was, you know. Anyway, DICE has been doing really positive changes to the game, and I mean really good positive changes. But people think I'm being negative just for the sake of being negative, and that's not really true, because I'm just a really honest person. And I do not sugarcoat whatever the situation is, I tell you how it is. And I guess that's why people get the idea that I'm really being negative just for the sake of being negative, which is of course not true. And I'm not a hater or looking for drama, because let's be honest, both those, you know, being a hater or looking for drama just makes you feel stupid at the end. You look like an idiot at the end of the day. So I don't want that. But because the things I say, I believe, I think is right, I think is the right thing to say at that particular time, whatever that time is, and I stand by it, you know, I just follow common sense. And I believe a lot of people do the same, but they can't express their feelings. Like, you know, same with me. Sometimes I feel a lot negative things that are not good, and I just want to express my opinion why they're not good, because they're not. But people don't want to be honest about themselves or honest with anyone else, and that's why we have so many problems, because there's no honesty. So when I say something is amazing and good, I stand by it. You know, case in point, Medal of Honor Warfighter. It's an amazing game. It's kind of sad that people never gave the game a chance, and it's so sad that EA is shutting down the servers in February. So yeah, rest in peace, Medal of Honor Warfighter. But you were a good game, and people never gave it a chance. So yeah. And when I say something is shit, I mean it, and that I had the time to think about it. I had the time to gather all the facts, gather all the feedback from everyone else I read online, you know, filter all the shitty opinions about something bad, you know, like, there's some really shit takes online, like YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, whatever, especially on Reddit. There's some really shit takes, but you take that feedback, you filter all the good feedback from it, I combine with my feedback, how I feel about the game, and I talk about it. That's, you know, I had the time to think about all these negative thoughts, and I say why it's shit. Sometimes I can't explain why certain things are shit, but I just know they're shit because it just is. On top of that, we live in a world where having an opinion, positive or negative, is an act of war towards someone, you know, a particular person. When in reality, you don't even know that person, you never met that person, but somehow you're declaring war with your opinion towards that person. It's just like, welcome to the internet, I guess. You know that typical mentality when you say that you don't like, you know, football, but people's gonna ask you, oh, why you hate basketball? You know, I don't hate basketball, I like football, but at the same time I don't hate basketball, but it's not my sport. But people say I hate basketball or something like that. Or like maybe you read somewhere online, like someone said, like compared to Twitter, oh, I like waffles, and someone's gonna say, oh, why you hate pancakes, you know, that kind of stuff. And so yeah, we live in that kind of world, so every time you have an opinion, that's what usually happens, unfortunately. So this video, I can imagine, be kind of the same thing.
You are the only one that whines about the tank because you're the only one
and that makes my opinion irrelevant, right?
No, it makes you like a small percentage of people. The only way to get kills is by sitting in a tank.
So one of my dear lovable friends that I want to kill sometimes with very tight hugs until they start breathing are making fun of me for being negative about the game that I got for free. I will continue to speak up because I'm in a privileged position. 99% of the player base, you know, actually not even player base, 99% of people in general don't get their games for free. And then as a wannabe YouTuber with some sort of audience, it's my duty to tell you that as an independent content creator, that Battlefield 2042 is a doomed game. It doesn't matter what kind of changes they introduce, what kind of content they add or anything, until they address the core problems of the game, the game will never be good. It's too late. It's a little too late. And to be fair to DICE, they did address some core problems of the game. For example, they finally brought classes back, which makes the game flow a bit better, and it's literally the staple of the game. Like, not even game, the franchise. Battlefield without classes is like, I don't know, it's just... You're missing something. It's such a staple in the franchise, I don't know why they even thought it was a good idea to even remove them. And they finally added more defensive mechanics to the tanks, you know, like active protection system, you know, because I don't know why this wasn't in the game in the first place, but hey, but I'm glad it's finally there. And regarding the classes, the problem is with classes is that they had to be designed around specialists. You can't remove specialists from 2042, and sometimes it becomes really what's the word? Not even unbalanced. It feels weird. It feels weird. It's just like it doesn't feel right. And regarding tanks, I made a video just 1 month after Battlefield 2042 explaining and criticizing how and why tanks feel so bad and absolute dog shit in Battlefield 2042, and I was advocating why they need to be redesigned, or like the whole core gameplay of tank gameplay need to be redesigned. And of course I got comments like, oh, you're the only one complaining about, you're the only one that cares about shut the fuck up, tanks are already OP, blah blah blah, you're wrong, because I was the only one complaining about tanks. I was like literally the only person on the whole planet complaining that tanks are shit. But no one fucking cared because reasons. And the next thing you know, someone at DICE actually watched my video and agreed with my assessment, and we actually getting active protect system in the game, and also some multiple turret changes. Can you stop playing every time I record, cat? Jesus fucking Christ. I'm just trying to record a video auto. Of course, does it fix the problem? Does it make Battlefield 2042 one of the best shooters of 2023? Of course not, it's still the same bloody game, you know, but it makes certain annoyances more tolerable, and it makes the game feel a bit more polished. So, which is of course a welcome change. And I only want the best for the franchise, and I will continue to speak up, because that's what I do, that's what I've always been doing. I've been honest with my opinion and feedback, and I, you know, not being a cunt about it. Does the truth hurt sometimes? Yeah, of course it does. It hurts the developers, it hurts the, you know, the player base, it hurts me sometimes, you know, but the truth is the ultimate antidote. You know, we can't be, you know, lying to each other like that something is like something is really good, but it's actually not, you know. Just be truthful with yourself. That's kind of it. And let's be honest, Battlefield franchise has not been performing the best for the last 7-8 years, if not more than a decade. And I will not go into details, but I will just go through a quick Battlefield history for the last 7 years so we can understand the context what I'm talking about.
Beginning, middle, end. Facts, details, condense, plot, tell it.
Battlefield 4 was the last game that had some sort of positive impact on the Battlefield community as a player base and the studio itself. And all thanks to community test environment that basically saved the game from its doom and laid an amazing foundation for the future installments. I will not talk about Battlefield CTE and what is it, but it was such an amazing thing to happen for Battlefield franchise. I don't understand why they never brought it back in the first place, because it will make so many things better. It just made sense. It makes sense for the Battlefield franchise. But of course, that old positive foundation was destroyed and never came back because new game. So Battlefield 1 happened. And Battlefield 1 was a really polarizing game in the Battlefield community. So the hardcore players did not like Battlefield 1. They did not like the game whatsoever. But it did brought a new audience to the game, a new audience to the franchise that never heard of Battlefield or never cared about Battlefield until Battlefield 1. And Battlefield 1 was that game that brought a new, you know, a new bunch of players, and that was fantastic. So they really enjoyed the setting, they enjoyed the World War 1 setting, because it was, back in the day, let's be honest, make a World War 1 game back in the day was fucking ballsy. You know, where the modern shooters were kings, and you make this World War 1 shooter that actually was, I'll be honest, it's not my type of game. I do not like Battlefield 1. I never really liked Battlefield 1, but it aged really well, and it's still a really good game. And if you love Battlefield 1, fantastic, because Battlefield 1 is a great Battlefield game. It really is. But the reason why hardcore players hated Battlefield 1 in the first place, because there was like a lot of missing features, a lot of like stuff that made Battlefield were not there. It was like somewhat casualized, if you want to say that, which I think is a stupid term. Certain hardcore players did not enjoy, you know, the shooting mechanics and so on. When I say hardcore, I don't mean the game mode. I mean the actual players that have been playing Battlefield for so long. They know what they want from a Battlefield game. But the new audience of Battlefield, they enjoyed Battlefield 1. Even Battlefield Incursions, a comparative 5v5 mode they tried to make, was a really nice prototype, a really nice experiment for the future of the franchise that would finally take Battlefield to the competitive scene. You know, Battlefield was never famous for its competitive scene, but Battlefield Incursions was a good start, a good prototype, a good first draft of the mode, you know, to make Battlefield competitive, and it was fantastic. And I believe it still needs a modern revisit right now that can actually make, like, it could be really fun. And because of that, it felt like a sidestep in the franchise, and people were willing to wait for the next game and give that one a go, because you can build something more and something bigger on Battlefield 1 Foundation. So that was at least the idea that what people were getting. So like, it was a sidestep in the franchise, but you can grow from there, and you can, you know, carry the new audience with you, and you can carry the hardcore players with you. So that was at least the idea. So next thing you know, Battlefield 5 comes out. As the game was announced, it was the most disliked Battlefield reveal ever on YouTube. Everyone hated it. So Battlefield 1 players hated it, hardcore Battlefield players hated it, historical nut jobs hated the game, It was such a bad reveal on so many different levels. And funny enough, I was one of the few people that was in the audience that I got invited to be at the Battlefield 5 reveal. And when I was in the audience watching the reveal, like physically was with, what's his name? Trevor something, I forgot the presenter's name. Anyway, I was there in person. It wasn't that bad as in the audience, but then I look online, people hated it. Like this, which is like, it's funny how living in a bubble can actually affect you as a, you know, in terms of looking at it from different perspective, you know.
So, yeah, what's really gonna stick is how the monetization goes downwind from release, and how everything else goes on that end. Not the whole female on the box art thing. That shit's gonna get dropped real quick. And if there are any people out there that are that petty, then I feel really sorry for you. Like, if you're seriously not gonna pick up a game because there's a chick on the box art.
So when Battlefield 5 came out, also, by the way, I hate the name Battlefield 5 or Battlefield V. Such a stupid name. It's like Black Ops 4, you know, being a prequel to Black Ops 3, and Battlefield 5 being a sequel to Battlefield 4, but it's a prequel to Battlefield 4 and 3. It's like such a stupid name. Sometimes I really hate marketing and when there's stupid ideas. Battlefield 1 was genius marketing, like that. It's a perfect name for Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 is a perfect name. Battlefield V or 5? No. It's just such a stupid name. So when Battlefield 5 or Battlefield V finally came out, it had so many problems on launch regarding performance and certain gameplay elements. Even though the gunplay was pretty rewarding and much better than Battlefield 1, it still did not feel right. From talking to certain developers, I know that Battlefield 5 was a rushed, horrible disaster. No one working on Battlefield 5 enjoyed the experience. Like, no one, literally. They hated working on this game because for so many different reasons. And the game was rushed. It was made like under a year, and that's impressive for a AAA game, you know. So I'm kind of amazed that even the game came out. And the story is that Ripple Effect, formerly as DICE LA, they were working on their own Battlefield game when Battlefield 1 came out, but it got scrapped. For whatever reasons, I'm still trying to find out. I'm trying to find out the reason why it got scrapped, but I can't find the reason because everyone are like, you know, quiet about it. Whatever the reason is, the game got scrapped, and DICE Stockholm came in to make Battlefield 5. And the reason they came in to make Battlefield 5 is because EA, instead of being reasonable, they still wanted the Battlefield game to be released for 2018. So DICE Stockholm started working on Battlefield 5, and of course it had a lot of technical problems regarding performance or content being delayed because they were so behind with everything, and that's why we never got Eastern Front DLC in the first place, because they might as well cut our losses. Battlefield 5 was a horrible game. It's just like it wasn't good, and developers did not enjoy it, the players did not enjoy it, Battlefield 1 players hated it, hardcore players hated it, developers hated it. It was just like such a hate game. Was it really that bad? No, but it was bad. Fuck. Oh shit, anyone remembers Battlefield Hardline? Anyone remembers that game? Oh my fucking god. And what makes it more funny is that Zach Moonbach, the former developer that was at Visceral working on Battlefield Hardline, he has so many grudges against EA for many different reasons. It's hilarious. And apparently, according to him, they were forced to make a Battlefield game. They were forced to make a Battlefield game. They were forced to make Battlefield Hardline. Holy fucking shit. Of course, let's be honest. Back in the day, EA was horrible. Are they still horrible these days? Yeah, of course. But EA made some good games in the last couple of years. You know, all the good single-player games and everything. So they changed a little bit. They did change. You know, they're not absolute douchebags anymore. Are they still douchebags? Of course, yeah. They're fucking EA. Of course they are. But they are improving, and that's fantastic. So let's give them praise for releasing these amazing single-player games that actually really good, and I applaud that. So as a company, they changed a lot, and I appreciate that. That's a good thing. And of course, if you want to go really deeper, you know, in the Battlefield franchise not performing well, we can always look at Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. You know, Battlefield 3 was horrible on PC when it launched. The performance was absolute garbage. It was a technical mess. And of course, Battlefield 4 was 10 times worse. You know, but because Battlefield 4 is remembered really good right now, is because of Battlefield 4 CT. community test environment existed, and that saved the game, and that laid the foundation for the future of the franchise, and people were really positive about that. So that was it. So anyway, history lesson over, let's not talk about that. Anyway, so you have to understand why Battlefield 2042 was supposed to be a really good game. It was really important for the franchise because it's been underperforming on so many different levels. So they abandoned Battlefield 5, cut their losses, moved all the development teams, to the next game, added these new studios, I'll talk about it in a moment. They added all these studios, to work on the next game, so it showcased that they have ambition and everything, and the EA executive is literally saying the game is ahead of schedule, it looks good and everything, so the promise was there. The stage was set, they set the stage that this game is gonna be fucking amazing, that's what they said. And I was thinking it's gonna be some sort of reboot of the franchise, it's gonna be fresh, it's gonna be new, it's gonna be, we're starting with building a foundation for the future. This is gonna be the Battlefield game that will revolutionize the gaming industry, this was it, it felt like it, So Battlefield 2042 is announced. A game title I've been waiting for many years, since Battlefield 4 Final Style DLC, because it's a perfect mix of modern, of Battlefield 3 and 4, and futuristic of Battlefield 2142. It's a nice mix. It's the perfect game. It's like the perfect setting for a Battlefield game. It's like modern and future. It was perfect. I've been waiting for a title like that for many years, and I'm so glad they announced it. I was hyped. I was fucking hyped. The reveal trailer itself was fantastic. The best reveal Battlefield ever had for their game. It's just, to this day, it's still 10 out of 10. It's such a good reveal. It's just chef's kiss. It's fucking good. The Exodus cinematic was fantastic. If it was a feature movie, I would gladly go watch it a couple of times in the cinema because it was so bloody good. I don't know why they would never continue to do more of that, because I want more of this. The setting and everything is just this is the game that needed a single player. If you don't have a single player, at least give me this. Give me this. This was fantastic. It's just holy fuck. And Battlefield Portal looked like the second coming of Christ. It's not only we getting a perfect setting for a Battlefield game, we're also getting a separate mode where you can make your own Battlefield experience, using Battlefield 3, 1942 and Bad Company 2 as a starting point to make your own perfect Battlefield game with your own modes and everything. It's basically a server rental program, but so much better. It's just it was amazing. The potential was insane. But remember when I said that people call me negative because I apparently being negative for the sake of being negative and I can't find happiness in my life, which is actually true. Well, when it was announced that Battlefield 2042 will have 128 players, I was really skeptical because I had my concerns about map design and the performance and all that kind of stuff, because just because you go bigger, it doesn't mean it makes it better. And I already had my concerns with 128 players months before the game came out. I literally raised my concerns I don't think it's a good idea to do that. And what makes it more interesting is this quote from 2011 from DICE CEO Patrick Sutherland. And he was asked back in 2011 why they haven't increased the player number for Battlefield 3, why they haven't went with 128 players, because it sounds like a natural progression from Battlefield 2 to Battlefield 3, because they're 6 years in between, so don't you want to increase the player numbers and so on. And I shit you not, he replied, I read the quote, "We play tested with 128. You got to make a game that's fun to play, and arguably, we think that's the most fun you can have when it's between 32 and 40 players. We've done substantial research into this and tested 128 players, and that is not fun," continued the DICE boss. "Maybe we haven't done our design work good enough, but we just feel like there's no point going higher than 64. That was 2011 for Battlefield 3. 2011. And of course, as the game came out, Battlefield 2042 had the worst, the most atrocious maps ever that come out with the Battlefield game. It's maps are so terrible. Holy fuck. Those maps are so bad. DICE has a dedicated team redesigning every single vanilla map that came out with the game, and it's being pushed as content for the future seasons. Are you fucking kidding? I never seen that kind of stuff happen in any first-person shooter game or any AAA game in that matter. This was such a brand new thing. I never seen anything like that. Holy shit, the maps are so fucking bad. Now, of course, a year later, we got a couple of redesigns already. Some of them are okay, some of them definitely improves the map, but some of them are just like, it's just pointless. Just some of them are just like, you know. Yeah, it makes it tolerable, but, you know. All you can do is put sprinkles around the shit. It's still gonna be shit, you know. But hey, I have to respect the dedication and they actually doing their best to improve. And apparently, I haven't played the new, what's it called? Breakthrough map, the snow map. I haven't played the redesign map, and apparently people saying it's really, really good. So I hope it's actually good. So hopefully. I haven't played that new map yet. But anyway, we'll see. Then of course I had my concerns about specialists. Like everyone else with a brain cell working in their head, or just having common sense, realized that 128 players and 10 specialists doesn't compute well, and Battlefield is not some sort of hero shooter. Like, they talked about the classes and Argon and everything, because classes are the specialists themselves, but no, you literally make it into a hero shooter, and not to mention, you have 28 players, and you have only 10 specialists to distribute through the whole server. It's just like, yes, I mean, if I want to play Clone Wars and something like that, sure, I just put up Star Wars Battlefront 2. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, you know. Here's the thing, Battlefield has always been about, you know, soldiers, nameless soldiers. It's always been about the war itself and not the characters. Like, it's nice to have characters once in a while, but then again, if you want to have characters, you have single player for that, you know. You have a single player that, you know, you introduce new characters, you make characters, you know, really good characters that I care about, and you introduce them to the multiplayer, not other way around. I don't care about multiplayer. It makes you feel desperate because other games are doing this, like they're creating their own characters because we somehow should care about them. No, just let me make my own character, let me make my own soldier, and I will care about that soldier, and I will spend microtransactions on, you know, cosmetics for that soldier. Like, you want to tell me that you could not create classes and sell skins for classes? Of course you could. Of course you fucking could. It's not rocket science. And we create our own characters that we care about, and that's how we spend money on microtransactions, because we want to, you know, improve our character. We want to make our character look good and everything. We want to make our soldier look, you know, it's our soldier. We want to make it our soldier. We don't care about someone else's created character, you know. I just don't care. Like, why should I care? And of course there was a lot of damage control saying that, oh, the customization will make soldiers look different from each other, and it's gonna be amazing, and you can make your own unique soldier, which is of course was a fucking lie, because no game ever had that, you know, that in-depth customization, and you will need thousands of combos or whatever to make 128 players look different from each other, especially when it comes to different fractions. Of course it was terrible, customization was terrible, it was like a waste of fucking time, and it was a big fucking lie, and I'd never want to experience that ever again. Oh, anyway, I need a drink, and I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna move this chair away now. Let's not forget the cringy voice lines they added to the game. Like, just why? Why you had to do that? Were you insane? So you present this game as a post-apocalyptic global, you know, global warming shit. You know, the whole world is going to shit, and some fucking idiot is gonna tell me, don't be sad, it just turns out like that sometimes. Why you were thinking? Of course there was damage control coming from EA and DICE. One of my personal examples, like my favorite examples, was like brutal expectations coming from certain EA developer, and was it developer? I don't know. A community person, right? His comments were like literally, you need to relax, brutal expectations for this game. Bitch, I already said my piece about this fucking comment, but that doesn't matter now. So okay, so ignoring the maps, the customization, even the menus, even the HUD, how's the gameplay? The gameplay is probably fun, the typical Battlefield formula gameplay. So you have your combined warfare with tanks and jets and helis. You know, people were excited for the helis to come back finally after two historical shooters. So like, okay, finally helis are back, so it should be fun, really fun and good. No, I hated everything about it. Just everything about it was amateurish, poorly designed. And I'll be honest with you, the shooting was, and still is, really shit. I don't feel, it's absolute dog shit, you know. The shooting mechanics are so unfun, feels so artificial. It feels like it's just so fucking fake, you know. Fake and not satisfying. Running and shooting feels really out of place. Like you're floating, but you're not floating. It's just like animations are like your running animations are so amateurish, you know, and so badly done. It just feels so wrong. Reloads and transitions from shooting to reloading and all, like everything about, you know, guns and shooting and running and movement feels so artificial, so bad. Especially the recoil. One of my biggest gripes about this game is literally the recoil. The recoil is like, you know, like CSGO, you know, or any other game trying to be like, you know, oh, there's recoil patterns and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, this feels so bad. They tried to do that. They tried, but it feels so artificial. It's like I don't want to say that the game designers are working, because they were probably crunched as fuck. I can imagine they were crunched to make this game and release this game, because this is kind of the similar story as Battlefield 5 regarding development problems. But it's just so feels so fucking bad.
You know what I would describe this game as? Very twitchy.
Yeah, but in a bad way.
You know, in Modern Warfare, aiming, I don't know why I would describe it like that, but it feels more organic and fluid, you know what I mean?
Modern Warfare is godlike, honestly, because it just feels so natural to aim and do whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean with organic.
Yeah, this feels just a bit clunky. It's just clunky. That's all it is. I can't describe it any differently. It's just clunky. And Battlefield was always famous, like, you know, being really good at that. You know, the visuals, the sound, you know, the shootings, the gun, and like the models, like everything felt really good in previous games. Even Battlefield 5. Even Battlefield 5 being an absolute, you know, really bad game, it still felt really nice. You know, it felt really good. Battlefield 2042, I think, is actually worse than Battlefield 2. I said it. I actually think it's fucking worse. No, it doesn't matter if they have all this technology to make it like look shiny and good. I really hate the shooting in this game. That is so, like, everything feels so amateurish. If this was an indie developer, you know, with a limited budget, like for example World War 3, I fully would understand the limitations, you know, with all that kind of stuff, you know, with the gameplay and shooting and guns, and I get it. It would be a justified limitation. But we're not talking about an indie studio, we're talking DICE. DICE, one of the best first-person shooter developers in the bloody world. And they come out with this. It's frustrating. Especially for a game that I really wanted since Battlefield 4 Final Stand. You know, what, I've been waiting for this game, what, 7-8 years? I read a lot of comments about that, hey, this is actually fine, this is not too bad and everything, but to me that sounds like coping. This is literally pretending that it's not that. Yeah, in a vacuum, Battlefield 2042 is a good game, but we don't live in a vacuum. There's other games out there trying to do the same thing as Battlefield, and they actually do it sometimes better. For example, Call of Duty. Before Modern Warfare 2.19, Call of Duty, when it comes to, you know, when it came to shooting mechanics, it was a fucking joke. The Call of Duty franchise was a joke. Like, sure, it sold millions, but that doesn't matter. The gameplay itself was dog shit. The quality was not there. Like, the Call of Duty franchise was running on an old Quake engine from 2000s, you know? It felt like crap. It was shit. Battlefield was miles ahead of that franchise, like in terms of like gameplay mechanics. And then Modern Warfare 2019 came out, and that changed my view about everything. That game was such a revolution when it comes to first-person shooters. Every time I compare any other game, arcade first-person shooter, I compare Modern Warfare 2019 to everything else. That's the legendary status I expect AAA games to hit in the future. So when Battlefield 2042 was coming out, like months ahead, I was not expecting them to hit Modern Warfare 2019 standards, because that would be ridiculous, especially the game that was made in COVID. You have to remember, Battlefield 2042 was made during COVID times, so I get you will not hit that quality, but I expected something decent level as Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 4 in that matter, like something on a reasonable, decent scale. But it was much worse than that. I mean, Grant, I know the game is not officially released and there's gonna be a day one patch, But I don't
Hey,
think that...
listen, no excuses.
Yeah, I really don't think that day one patch will fix anything.
No excuses,
Yeah, I agree.
especially after all the talk, oh, we're ahead of schedule and like 4 different studios working on the game. If this is what they came up with in the last 3 or 4
Yeah, I
years...
agree.
Listen, Battlefield 5 felt better, and they put that together in like a year, okay? I'm gonna say it. I don't care. Battlefield 5 felt better, and I don't like Battlefield 5. Okay?
Yeah,
But Battlefield 5
I'm
felt
kind of
better.
low-key again that... It's just, I'm like... If the game is like a bit buggy, it's fine, okay, sure, bugs happen, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But it's just the game itself doesn't feel good, it just feels very, very clunky. That being said, with all the positive changes that DICE has been introduced into the game, they fixed the bugs, they added concepts back, they fixed the gameplay vehicle to be more tolerable, they polished the game a little bit. Am I being too harsh towards this game now, a year later after release? More than a year, but regardless, am I being too harsh? No, I'm not being too harsh, because... No, you have to understand that the game had a lot of development problems. That these, and these studios that EA was really bragging about working on Battlefield, these studios joined not because they were really ambitious and they had a vision for the game. It's not because of that. It's because they had a lot of development problems. So they needed extra developers to make sure the game is released in the first place. The only thing they had in their mind is to make sure the game comes out in the first place. That's why all these developers joined in. It's because to help them. And when that happens, you're fucked. Because you have to look at this from a publisher's perspective. Publishers will never will spend more money on developers just to make the game better. That's never happening. They have a budget, and you have to make a game out of the budget. So when you're bleeding money from other studios to help the other studio to make the game, it's not because they're ambitious. No. It's to save their fucking asses. It's always been like that. Because no publisher will spend more money on a game that is performing well. The development of the game is going well. They will never spend more money because they're already doing well with the budget they already have. So why spend more? You won't. And of course, after all these developers, all that money spent to make sure Battlefield 2042 meets its fucking deadline, they announced that Vince Zampella will be the head of Battlefield. You don't announce that unless your game is doing horribly shit. What makes it worse, when they announced that Vince Zampella taking over the Battlefield franchise, they announced that they're making them a Battlefield universe, or whatever you want to call it. That was bullshit. They never had an idea for that. This was just for shareholders to tell, it's okay, our game might be shit, but it's a nice stepping stone, it's a nice foundation for the future. That wasn't for the players. That was literally just to appease the shareholders to make sure they don't fucking quit with the shares. They don't stop investing. That was the problem. That was damage control. You have to understand. Damage control. What makes things worse, like this particular Battlefield universe thing, what makes me really, really angry is because I wrote a document to EA and DICE 7 years ago maybe? I don't remember. It's during Battlefield 4 CT days. I wrote a document that they should start building a Battlefield universe because they have all these different games. You can connect them. Future games can actually, that can be the stepping stone. You can literally build this universe and expand and make more games, and have a connected, marvelous, how Marvel does the cinematic universe. So you can have that. And I said that 7 years ago, and I told them, I wrote it in the document, they should do it as soon as possible. They never did, of course, because why would they listen to me anyway? They're I'm just a random guy, why would they fucking listen to me? I don't know anything better. And of course, 5 years later, Warzone comes out. Call of Duty did it first. And they were successful. Warzone became a global phenomena that... Now you're gonna drill? Now you're gonna fucking drill in my house? Of course, now you're probably thinking, why have these problems in the first place? Well, without knowing all the facts, and I can't tell you a precise answer what happened, because gaming industry is extremely sensitive regarding anything when it comes to information, and I hate that, because, I don't know, corporate reasons that make no fucking sense. Actually, speaking of gaming industry is extremely sensitive regarding everything, and it pisses me off. And it's not better for the gamers, it's not better for the developers, it's not better for everyone.
When the game launched, it had the reaction that it had with the community. I think that was mirrored a lot within the team as well, if we're being honest, and there was a lot of things that came up that we owned within the team internally and we wanted to fix. You have to pick and choose what you go after. The house was built, and the systems within that house were already built, so there was nothing that we could necessarily change from a systemic point of view without doing a fairly risky overhaul to a game in live.
I don't know how to explain, because it seems like it's just not getting across that when players are like, oh, why aren't I doing this, why aren't I doing that, why this should be quick. I'm like, if it was quick and easy, it would already be done. All we do is we want to build and create a game for our players. So we want to actually get whatever we can out as soon as possible on the best possible quality. The reality with the game production is that you have to balance things out because you can't have it all. That's just software production in general. There's the whole triangle of time, people, and quality.
Sounds like you have difficult choices to make all the time.
Difficult. It's always a balancing act, and I think quality is an important one that often doesn't get spoken about.
But we do know for a fact that all experienced developers left DICE LA when Battlefield 5 was released, because it was such a horrible experience, such a horrible thing to experience. They don't want to work that ever again. They're probably like, you know what, I'm not doing this ever again. I am not doing this, I'm gonna leave, and that's it. And they left, and a lot of developers left the studio, and a lot of new people joined the team. At the same time, we know the Frostbite engine is a shit engine to work with, because they don't really have the tools to make it easier. How true that is, I don't know, but apparently that's what I've been hearing from a lot of developers. On top of that, during the development of Battlefield 2042, Frostbite engine was hacked. So the source code of itself was either stolen or leaked or whatever, I can't remember. But it was, stolen. And that's a big security risk, because suddenly you're working, about changing stuff other than making the game. So yeah, I would imagine that would cause a lot of problems. And on top of that, the new chief at DICE, Rebecca Kutas, I think I pronounced her name correctly, Rebecca Kutas, she said that DICE was extremely stubborn to adapt to the new environment in the gaming industry with, free-to-play games, the live services, all that kind of stuff. They were really stubborn, and they had to change and adapt to the new environment, how the gaming industry works these days. Because Fortnite exists, Warzone exists, and DICE was really stubborn, still stuck in the early 2010s, release the game, add some updates, move on to the next game. You can't really do that anymore in these days because the gaming industry has changed. So yeah, I went through a lot of articles, I went through a lot of interviews, just reading what happened with this game. And it was an eye-opener as you put all the puzzle pieces together and you finally get a full picture of what the fuck happened. I made this point at Live Gathering podcast. Please do listen, because I think we do our amazing podcast. All the problems start at management. They all start from the top. It doesn't matter if you do game development or you do marketing or you're a bakery or whatever. Pick a business, right? All the problems start at the top. So regarding 2042, if you don't have the resources, which is COVID, lack of developers, you have an exodus of experienced developers leaving the studio, then, other problems, whatever the problem is, if you don't have the resources to produce the game that your audience is expecting from your mainline title, then don't make a mainline title. Scale it down where it's reasonable for the game, for the resources you have. It's okay to admit that you don't have the resources to make a AAA game experience. You don't have to push it to the fucking, hell itself and try to push a game out, or what's wrong with delaying the game? It's not like you're gonna be in fucking trouble. You have enough money in your bank to, make sure that you don't go bankrupt. Scale it down where it's reasonable that your current developers, that the bunch of developers you have in the studio are comfortable meeting the deadline and still produce a quality product. Specialists, for example, they can work in a Battlefield game as long as it makes sense in the bigger picture, Imagine instead of Battlefield 2042, a mainline title, you go something smaller and you, let's say, for example, make Battlefield Incursions. a 5 versus 5 comparative Battlefield game, you know, and that's where you can have your specialists. That's where you can have your, you know, heroes or whatever you want. And if you do your marketing right, people will be on your side. Because this is something brand new you never tried. This is a new experiment. Give us a chance. And people will give you a chance as long as you're being reasonable with them. Because people are not dumb. They're not dumb. So be reasonable about your expectations. But like any big publisher these days, they answer to the shareholders, not the customers, the actual customers that pay them. The shareholders are the most important thing to them, and that's why we have Battlefield 2042. It was a game of numbers, not passion. So they clearly did not have the resources to go big, as they usually do, but greed, arrogance, and lack of understanding of the franchise left a really big, big bad taste really bad taste in the Battlefield community, and it will affect the next game. It will. Of course, we'll see if it will affect the game for the better or worse, but hopefully, we can only hope that lessons are learned. I keep saying like, oh, Battlefield 1 will be a nice lesson, and Battlefield 5 will be a nice lesson, Battlefield Hardline will be a nice lesson, but now we're back again with Battlefield 2042 being another lesson. How many lessons do you need? How many lessons do you need to understand what you need to do? Like, sales will definitely be lower than Battlefield 2042 because I know Battlefield 2042 sold somewhat reasonably well. But the sales will be lower for the next game. That is a given. But the positive impact is that the next game will have a single player. Even though people say Battlefield doesn't need a single player, but this Battlefield 2042 was like the perfect example, like the perfect game to have a single player, because the story was like really interesting. The setting of Battlefield 2042 was so fucking interesting. This deserved a single player. Battlefield 2042 really needed a single player. Really needed one. Especially with the specialists and shit. You really need a single player. So I'm kind of glad the next game will have a single player, even though I don't really need it, but I get it. Why? Will they be making Battle Royale? Honestly, I keep saying that. I don't think Battlefield needs a Battle Royale. Would I hate it? I mean, it depends if it's done right. I did not like Firestorm. It wasn't I don't think it was a good Battle Royale because it was no different than anyone else. Okay, it had destruction. So Fortnite has destruction. Does it make it any better? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It's just, I hope the next game is actually good and they actually learn the lessons from it, and just fingers crossed. And to distract us from this negative vibe that this game has, they will give us one last season, Season 5, with a Battlefield 4 remaster map, It was later clarified it's not gonna be a Battlefield 4 straight up remaster. Like, it's not gonna be a map remaster straight up, but it will be remade to accommodate 124 players. Well, that's what the idea I got, because you can't really squeeze 128 players on a Battlefield 4 map because it's just insane. It's gonna be too small. So I understand what they meant by that. They'll take Battlefield 4 map and they'll expand it and redesign it to make sense for the 124 players. Regardless, it's an exciting time. I actually really like that idea that you take old map from a game and redesign it to make sense for a bigger player base, and you can expand the take of Siege of Shanghai, for example. Imagine you expand that map, you can go around other buildings that you couldn't go because of our bounds area and so on. Imagine you can expand that and make it bigger. That's a brand new experience that we never really experienced with remasters. So I kind of want to see that. So I'm looking forward to that. And there's a reason why Year 2 was never announced, is because it's all damage control. Like I said about the negative vibe with this game, leave the game in a decent state so it doesn't affect the next game too much in terms of sales. So if you leave the game in a positive sense, people will remember like people remember Battlefield 4. Battlefield 4 was great. It's all great and everything, but people completely forgot in what kind of bad state the game came out back then. So that's what I mean. It's all damage control. So it's for the next game to be positively received, hopefully. So they have their pre-orders and everything all sorted. But you have to understand that Battlefield should be dominating the gaming market for years now, but they're not, because they have everything they need to be the king of FPS games. Even if the franchise is literally being made by just one studio, and that's quite an achievement of its own. Like, we actually forget, even though Activision has so many developers, so many studios, working on one franchise, EA only has one, DICE. And ripple effects helping DICE wherever they have, wherever help they need. Now we have Ridgeline Studios joining making the single player. So now they have a bit more resources to make something more amazing and maybe reach its potential. But it's quite amazing just for one studio to be one of the best game developers when it comes to first-person shooters. That's an achievement. So that's why I'm really angry that Battlefield has not reached its potential. So with these multiple studios helping finally, early, hopefully, it will help to reach, help the franchise to reach that potential that it has to be good. And I think that's the reason why we all keep coming back to this franchise in the first place. Because we see the potential. We see that what this franchise can achieve. That it can move mountains and basically start a revolution in the gaming industry. But it just fails to do so because reasons, I don't know if it's lack of resources or lack of vision or whatever. But like I said, DICE reinvents the wheel every fucking time with their new game. How many times you can do that? That's why the player base doesn't stay and it doesn't grow, because you reinvent the wheel every fucking... You make a new game and it's a completely different game entirely. Which is nice in a sense that keeps the franchise fresh, but at the same time you don't have any consistency. And that's bad. And that's why the franchise can't reach its fucking potential. Just relax. You already done everything you want in the last 10, 15 years. Just make something that people would enjoy, Make it consistent, Consistency is key. There's a reason why Call of Duty has been, top of the charts regarding sales, because you know what you're gonna get. You don't know what you're gonna get with Battlefield, And you have no idea how excited I was to play a new Battlefield game, Battlefield 2042. I was so excited to play this game after playing Warzone for so long. I gave my key that I got for free from EA to my girlfriend because I was hoping that she's gonna play with us and we're gonna have so much fun, us Warzone peeps, our little group will play Battlefield together and we're gonna have so much fun and everything. But that never happened because the game was fucking shit. And that fucking makes me angry. And no future updates or anything will fix that first impression that was caused by the game's launch. It's just, everyone already moved on. It's too late. And that's why Season 5 will be the last season. And of course, every time a Battlefield content creator says that the game Battlefield is back or whatever, I just want to give them a cup of coffee and spill it over their keyboards or controls because they're full of shit. It's just sad. Stop. Just stop. Be realistic. Stop. And I hate certain content creators being positive for the sake of being positive because they think if you're being positive, that means developers will notice you and they will be nice to you and you can make friends. No, but be realistic. I have some friends who are game developers and worked in this fucking game in that matter. I'm being honest with them. I'm being their friend. I'm not gonna sugarcoat the truth. They're my friends. I'm not there to squeeze something out of my friends. No, they're my fucking friends. I love my friends. And I'll be honest with my friends. And I hope we continue being friends because I fucking love them. Okay? In a friendship way, not... But if they want to kiss, then, we can kiss. Hey. That being said, I wish DICE, Ripple Effect, and Ridgeline Games all the possible good luck and all the possible good vibes and everything, that the next game, the next Battlefield game will be great. I hope they have the vision. I hope they have the ambition. I hope they make the right decisions regarding the next game. And I wish all the best luck for them to make sure that this game succeeds, this franchise is back on track, and everything is gonna be great. I wish all the best luck for them, all the developers working on this game. You have my fucking support. I hope you succeed. I really hope so, and I believe in you. And I really hope that everything is gonna be alright. And I hope we're not gonna have another shit show that was Battlefield 2042, because if we do have another shit show like this fucking game, and we're still gonna have this discussion as we're having right now, wow, we do have a Stockholm Syndrome for sure, and we do need professional help. On that note, my name is Tom, aka TheLankySoldier. Stay safe, be respectful to others, be nice, be a good, positive person, make some good changes, whatever that may be. Enjoy your games, be nice, and I'll see you guys in the next Battlefield video. And actually, it doesn't have to be a Battlefield video. Yeah. Okay. See you guys.